Hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Elliot Webber. Now at the start of the season I made a season predictions video giving my predictions for certain topics, obviously predicting the champions and of course predicting the most surprising driver and the most disappointing driver. Now in that video I predicted the most disappointing driver would be Dan Rowbottom. Boy was I wrong. And unfortunately for this, I've put Dan Rowbottom. I do think Dan Rowbottom is going to have another, not another, but I do see him being one of the worst NAPA drivers in terms of the championship standings. Now, if you, for some reason, haven't been keeping up with the 2025 BTCC season, or if you haven't watched the recent races at Thruxton, you will see that now, after the Thruxton rounds, Dan Rowbottom now sits third in the Drivers' Championship, something that I did not predict at all. I didn't think Dan Rowbottom would be doing as well as he has been doing, but I'm going to put my hands up in the air and I'm going to admit defeat here. I'm going to accept I was wrong about Dan Rowbottom this season. He is performing unbelievably well. He is seemingly in the best form of his life. He's in the best form of his career, you know, coming off the back of what is now 2 race wins this year already, along with 2 further podiums. So 4 podiums, 2 race wins, currently third in the championship. Dan Rowbottom is not only statistically having his best season, but I do think performance-wise he is having his best season as well. Obviously, Ash and Tom are seemingly the 2 runaways at the minute, although we have, of course, got Dan Camish in the mix. Jake Hill will always be in the mix, despite BMW struggles at the minute. Josh Cook is seemingly finding his form again in that Honda. And yeah, and also as well, Dan Rowbottom is now seemingly in the mix. Now, I said this on Twitter on the Sunday after Dan Rowbottom's race 3 win, that if he keeps up this consistency, then there is no doubt that maybe, just maybe, Dan Rowbottom could be a dark horse for the championship. I don't think Dan will be a contender going into the finale, because I do think that Ash Sutton obviously is just a little bit ahead, and I do think it will be Ash Sutton being once again the #1 driver at NAPA later in the season. But I do think Dan Rowbottom is having the best season of his career. Obviously, you know, at Sicily Motorsport, he only had that one season, and he did pretty well, but it was a rookie season. Not only that, there were 31 other cars on the grid. 2021, when he came back, he had a fairly decent first year at Team Dynamics in the Honda Civic, taking his first pole position and his first win that season, and it was a pretty solid 2021. 2022, however, was confusingly disappointing, is the best way to put it for Dan. He only mustered up 1 podium in 2022 with Team Dynamics, whereas his teammate Gordon Shedden mustered up, I believe, 2 or 3 race wins and was an outsider for the championship that year. So yeah, and then obviously that meant a necessary change for Dan Rowbottom. He moved to NAPA Racing in 2023, where he took a win, ironically, at Thruxton race 3 in 2023, and that was pretty much all that Rowbow could muster in 2023, but still a solid year. And also at the same time, that NAPA Ford was ridiculously quick that year in 2023. And then 2024, again, it was a little bit disappointing, only mustered up a couple of podiums and was winless in 2024. But for 2025, this season, he's pretty much hit the ground running. He has been much quicker in terms of qualifying pace and 1 lap pace, although he's not yet had a pole position yet this season. He has been there or thereabouts. He's had a couple of quick 6 appearances already, and obviously has mustered up 4 podiums, 2 of those being race wins, winning race 2 at Snetterton, and then winning, of course, race 3 at Thruxton. He is now the only other double winner alongside Ash Sutton, who has 3 race wins to his name. So yeah, Ash and Dan, the only 2 double winners so far this season, with, of course, Ingram, Jake Hill, Charles Rainford, Daryl DeLeon, Mikey Doble also taking race wins, along with Tom Chilton as well. So yeah, overall for Dan Rowbottom, he's having a phenomenal season, and it is great to see. I know I said that Rowbow would not have a good season. Again, I was wrong. I'm admitting that I'm wrong, and partly I'm happy to be wrong because I do like Dan Rowbottom. You know, there isn't a driver on the grid I dislike. So for Dan to be performing as well as he is great for him. It's also great for the championship. We need more drivers at the front. We need more competitive drivers, especially after it's basically been the Ash Sutton and Tom Ingram and Jake Hill show for the past three or 4 years. So to have the likes of Camish back up there, and obviously have the likes of Dan Rowbottom emerging as well as a front runner and looking like a contender. Obviously, it has been a great couple of races so far, but Dan Rowbottom does need to capitalise on that consistency, especially if there's going to be races like race 3 at Thruxton, where the likes of Jake Hill, Ash Sutton, Tom Ingram are, you know, victims of the reverse grid or victims of just taking points off of each other. You know, Rowbow needs to have more races like that where he is capitalising on the misfortunes of his rivals, including his teammates in Ash Sutton and Dan Camish, to take points off each other, and then Dan Rowbottom can sail away, take a few more race wins this year, which I do think he'll do this year, because that NAPA Ford is very much the fastest car on the grid. So far, they've taken 6 of the 12 race wins so far, and obviously that NAPA Ford is not as dominant as it was in 2023, but I think hands down that NAPA Ford, over the course of the 12 races we've had so far, that NAPA Ford is currently the best car on the grid, with the exception of Brands Hatch, where of course we know that BMW was the dominant car that weekend. But still, as for Dan Rowbottom himself, as I've said, he seems like he's fixed that consistency issue that he's had. One of the reasons why Dan Rowbottom hasn't been as successful in the championship in previous years is because he just hasn't been consistent enough. There are some weekends where he's up there, and then some weekends where he wasn't up there. But this year, he seems to be up there quite a lot. I do believe he's had a lot of top 10s. Not every race in the top 10, but he has had a lot of top 10s. As mentioned, 4 podiums. That's the most he's ever had in a single season. And of course, 2 wins this year already. The most wins he's ever had in a single season as well. So yeah, it does seem like Dan Rowbottom possibly could be a championship contender in 2025. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. What are your thoughts on Dan Rowbottom possibly being an outside contender for the BTCC title this year in 2025? And what are your predictions for the rest of the year? Tom Ingram is still my pick for the BTCC Championship, although Ash Sutton is looking consistent and as fast as ever. Ash was ridiculous at Thruxton in qualifying. He was ridiculous in race 2 with that unbelievable race start. And yeah, right now it's looking like it will be either Ash Sutton or Tom Ingram, but this video could be either a jinx or a blessing for Dan Rowbottom. So let me know your championship predictions in the comments below, guys. What are your predictions for the rest of 2025? Let me know, obviously, in the predictions below. Thank you guys for watching. If you're new around here, be sure to like this video, share with your mates as well, because it of course does help my channel grow. And of course, press that subscribe button, because we are firmly on the road to 400 subscribers. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see all of you in the next one. Goodbye.